Bun you shedding. You're so poofy. What a poofy bun
She
bun.
is.
Look at this poofy bun bun. Oh my gosh, she's so cute. But you touch her and the fur just...
How you doing, Cinnabon? Hey, how you doing? Hello, Rabbit. Hi.
She's so cute.
How are you doing? You good, bun?
Hello,
You good, rabbit?
peoples. This
Hi.
is... It's like, no,
She's thinking
I
about
good.
it. You're thinking about it, aren't
Good.
you?
Do you predict the winners before each game?
No, that takes the fun
Oh
out
my
of
gosh,
it.
so
Because then there's always somebody who'll be like, I'm tracking whether or not he's accurate. Oh, fine. That just takes the fun out of it.
afternoon from a very cold UK. It's actually pretty darn warm here. It was 4 degrees yesterday. So
It's supposed to be 6 today, 5 or 6
yeah, really
today.
warm. But we're supposed to get a snowstorm coming in this week. So
Yep.
back to cold.
Hey, baby. Good
This
rabbit.
is Cinnabon.
She's the free. So all of our rabbits are allowed to roam the house all day if they want to. She's the only one that doesn't.
Cinnabon. Look at that, sweetie.
So she comes in
I
here
will
every
play.
morning. This is a thing now. So I know whether or not their area is opened up, because if I come in here and she's not in here, I know the area is not opened up. I need to go up and get her. Hey, sweetie. She doesn't chew on cords. She doesn't misbehave. I really don't have a problem with her.
-4 in south of UK.
No thanks.
Chilly.
I don't
We had
want
our
negative
cold weather
4.
last week, and then
So
it warmed
that's
up.
a no from me.
Our snow hasn't melted yet, though. I've got fur in my
Bun,
face now. Still have snow. Hasn't all melted. Yeah, talking about eating our rabbits is not funny.
No. Good rabbits. You good girl.
Who wins FIFA World Cup?
Well, all bets are off. I'd love it if Morocco wins now that they're in the semifinals. I mean, it's probably going to go to France, though. It's very likely going to go to France. I knew yesterday with England, that was the most bewildering. I don't know how you don't call a penalty, and then the VAR comes in and it's like, oh, that was a penalty. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can't just run up to somebody and throw them down in the box before the ball gets there. You can't do that. If you could, man, school games would have been a lot more brutal. Because yeah, even in elementary school, it would have been like, you can't do that.
On my face now, I can feel it.
Bun.
Is
Can't do that.
Argentina still in?
Yes, they are. No, they're out. They're out, aren't they? Oh man, because I know it's Croatia, Morocco, France. Is Argentina the other one? I know Brazil's out. Hey, bunny.
Somebody asked your experience for the sizing of the reverse retros, the new ones.
So sizing with Adidas is odd in that, I mean, everything I have is a 46, but I can't say they all fit exactly the same. And I know there's times where Ben, the guy that I buy the jerseys from, he will get a jersey that's completely labeled the wrong size. Yeah. So it'll be like, yeah, this is labeled a 52, but by the measurements, it's a 46. Do you want it? Because I can't sell it this way. So the measurements can be all over. I know that there's a helpful little chart on Adidas's own site. So if you shop for them through Adidas, which I've done before, the one thing to remember is that if you're planning on actually playing hockey, you're going to want to size up because they're not made to be worn with equipment underneath.
Size up like 2 sizes.
That's why I do not understand the fight strap on these jerseys, because if I'm wearing a small and it's got a fight strap, great. But if I tried putting hockey equipment under those 46s, I'd look like the Michelin Man and I would rip the jersey because there's no way that it would work.
Jersey's doing weird things there.
Yeah,
it's caught on your shirt.
Yeah, well, old jerseys do that. Not that I've worn this that often. I think I've worn it like 3 times. Just feels like it's topical since the Seals jerseys are back. See, if San Jose was really going to commit, they'd bring this back.
This is absolutely a parrot. See, here's the beak. Here's a wing, and he's sitting on the hockey stick. It's a parrot. Here's the other. See, wing tip, other wing. It's a parrot.
So,
absolutely a parrot.
It's a weird logo.
I do not see a seal, but it's a lovely parrot.
And this was what they came up with to sell it to the people of Oakland.
If Rollison didn't get hurt in the 2006 Stanley Cup final, do you believe Edmonton would have won the cup that year? Keep up the good work, THG.
Yes. While I was a fan of Markkanen, who was the backup, that I was Markkanen that went in, right? Rollison, I think they probably would have won that cup in 06. That was very likely the blow that ended up causing them to not win the Stanley Cup back then.
Argentina versus Croatia, Morocco versus France.
Right. Okay. So I was right. Yeah, it is still Argentina. Okay. So Messi is still in there. The dream of Lionel Messi getting his first ever World Cup is still alive.
Days away from my 2-year subscribing anniversary. Thank you for the incredible content the past few years. That being said, hot take. You flip Hasek and Broder in 90s. Hasek wins at least 3 to 4 cups on New Jersey.
If Hasek played there, it's sort of like one of the arguments I've made too, because I often hear too about Luongo and how, he couldn't win in Vancouver. I don't know that any goaltender could have. And I think if Luongo had played his entire career in Detroit, he would have had multiple Stanley Cup rings. We wouldn't be seeing nearly the amount of debate about him belonging in the Hall of Fame as we see now.
How much of a change does Wilson make in return?
Tom Wilson coming back to Washington would be a change in how the whole team plays. They're a shell of their former selves without him. The whole team is different. Plus, he is a dynamic forward who is... I don't know about how much the intimidation factor works necessarily. Sometimes I think that's overblown. But he is a very important presence on the ice. He is a leader, and proof you don't need a C on your jersey to be a leader. Wilson will make a huge difference when he returns.
With his scoring pace, is EK65 tradable at all?
That contract's still almost untradeable, because I guarantee there are a lot of GMs right now that would look at that contract and would say, well, he's playing well. However, there's still these years at the end here. And is he going to continue to trend in that direction? That would be the concern.
Looks like one of those medieval paintings of a shark where the artist had never seen a shark and just did his best based on what was described.
Morocco.
Some of those paintings.
Morocco's one goal that they've conceded is the own goal at this point too. Correct. They haven't actually allowed a goal somebody else has scored into their net yet, as far as I can recall. So that's pretty fantastic defense by them.
Are the Dallas Stars legit contenders this year, or is it too early to judge?
It's a bit too early, but they need to be better at starting on time. They need to get leads and keep leads. It's been fun to watch these crazy games with all these huge swings. But as we saw with Florida last year, the teams that play that style of hockey, when you get to the playoffs, they get shut down. So they have to get better at playing the full 60 minutes.
Speaking of goalies, is Osgood arguably the biggest snub in net, not in the Hall of Fame currently?
I would put Osgood in that category. I would also put Curtis Joseph in that category. I've done videos on both and made my argument about why I believe both of them belong in the Hall of Fame. But I think if either of them were going to get in, I think it probably would have happened by now. Chris Osgood suffered from because he played for Detroit, his Stanley Cup rings aren't seen as impressive, which I find weird.
At this point in your career, would you accept a GM position if offered, even if you had to move?
No.
We're not
GM is not a very it's funny because the idea of working in hockey, it sounds fun and everything, but you don't really have that much job security, and then you're kind of out. So if I went to be a GM within a few years, I'd probably be back doing this again. So I might as well just skip that and just stick around doing this, because GM's difficult, and with all the cap and everything, it's tough.
Let's see. My wife made 40 dozen cookies. 40 dozen? What? How do you make
480 cookies?
How do you make that many cookies?
Well, if he has 14 ovens.
Right.
I don't know.
That would take forever.
He's in Anaheim. We'll ask him the next time we see him.
With that many cookies, I would have to wonder what kind of cookies they were.
We'll be down there at the end of January. So, I mean, it's mid-December. They can save some of those cookies for us.
It's
the nice thing to do is to save us some of those cookies.
There you go. See, problem solved.
So
that's a ton of cookies. Holy crap. How much butter did she need? That would have been so expensive.
You just buy a cow. It's
But
cheaper
then
just
you
to
have
buy
to
a
make
cow.
the butter.
You churn the butter.
No,
that's
you
fun.
don't. You make butter in a blender. It's way quicker. Nobody churns butter.
Are you saying that Amish
weird.
Paradise lied to me? Weird
Well,
Al
they
wouldn't lie to
wouldn't
me.
use a blender, but they
A
should.
man
It's way
that
quicker.
fought a Colombian drug cartel would not lie to me.
Well, the Flames have a new arena before 2030.
I'm gonna guess yes. I think they're gonna work this out with the city. The Flames aren't going to end up moving. The Flames are gonna figure this out. They're gonna get that new building. And I'll say sure, by 2030, that's 8 years from now. Why not?
Which cat is the craziest? Azrael.
Although Shadow lately has just been sitting on the stairs and yowling for no reason. I have to go and get him.
He does that during the day. I don't know if
I
you
have
even
had
hear
to
him
pause.
during the day.
I've had to pause
Okay.
videos and go out and get him.
Because I go and sit on the stairs and I talk to him about what he's whining about. But Azrael is absolutely the biggest spaz.
A lot of the little cuts you see in videos, a lot of the time I'm pausing because there's a cat that's bothering and I have to go and deal with that. So there's been times too where I'll hear crunching and I'm like, what's the rabbit doing? You know, it's funny. Once you're used to having rabbits, it's this really tiny noise. It's really hard to hear, but you know
what they find.
they're into something. They shouldn't be. Where are they?
It's usually like the corner of a box. That's what it is a lot of times.
Yeah.
Just the corner of a box or a piece of paper. Cinnabon loves pieces of paper.
True.
And then she'll carry them underneath. We have the
They ate that entire
headboard that
piece of
has like an
paper.
underneath, and she'll pull things under there.
There's a piece of paper out on the floor. She ate the whole thing.
Oh, it is gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
It's like a piece of notebook paper.
Yeah.
Will there be more games like the Kraken Kings game with more than 17 goals this year?
I won't say no, but as the year goes along, the defense should pick up and they should be a lot more difficult to achieve. That being said, there are teams like Vancouver, Montreal, Buffalo. There are enough teams that have these crazy games with all kinds of scoring opportunities. It could happen.
What am I wearing? And is it hockey related? Of course,
It's Vegas.
hockey related.
It's Vegas. It's a youth-sized hoodie.
It's one of my Vegas. I really like these hoodies. I
I know you do.
this style in Vegas, Jets, and Canucks. They're fine.
Yep.
I like them. They're really comfortable.
And I'm going to get her
I like-
Flyers,
no.
Predators.
No,
I'm going to get you the
Oh
new
my
Blues
gosh.
reverse
the
retro.
Predators would have to be hideous. No offense to those teams. I just
As much
think they're
she
kind of ugly.
doesn't like that color of yellow, and she doesn't like.
I don't like
orange
marigold
or orange.
or orange or yellow. I can't wear those colors. I am way too pale for that. It just looks really bad.
See, I don't care. I just wear them anyways.
I don't like the colors anyways, but they look terrible on me. Make me look even more pale. I don't need that. Off the top of your head, who do you think won the Conn Smythe that was an absolute surprise over someone else? For me, 08 Wings. Osgood took over.
You know what's funny? The Stanley Cup won by Pittsburgh in 2016. I thought Phil Kessel was their most important player. I really thought Phil Kessel deserved the Conn Smythe that year. I understand why it went to Sid. I totally get it, but I thought it was Kessel. Crosby in 2017, I have no argument with, but 2016, I thought it should have gone to Phil.
Have you driven on the Coquihalla Highway? What is it like? Also, best hockey YouTuber out there. I have drove on the Coquihalla.
The only time I've been on it
quite
is
a few
summer.
times. I used to drive in it in the winter because my ex-husband's family lived in Kelowna, and
I'd
so
never
we
do
would
it.
go visit them for Christmas. It's an adventure. There's a
no.
reason there's a show.
It's a
on
no
that
for me,
highway.
dog.
Yeah, you cannot see lines. There's really fun parts of the mountain where there's no guardrail.
And you're climbing.
It just goes down.
You're just climbing.
And so you have to drive really, really slow. And you
No.
just follow wherever you can because there's no lines. Yeah, they'll plow one lane. It's an adventure. It's something.
There was still, when I went up there
and you
in
have
May,
to hope they don't close it
Yeah.
while you're going.
Like-
I can remember one time coming home and it was late and there was a wreck. And so we all had to stop and we were in the middle of nowhere. And I had 3 tiny kids in the van and it was late and we just got to sit there for a couple hours and thinking, I hope I have enough gas in the van.
it's
Do I
not
have
fun at
food
night
for these
either.
kids? It was night and it was winter. Super fun. Yeah. Coquihalla. It's an adventure.
And you've got so many semis that have their lights flashing and they're going really slow as they're going up that hill.
Yeah.
So it's not
There's a
fun.
reason there's a show.
Yeah. There's endless material for the Highway Through Hell show.
Yeah.
Endless.
And I started watching the newest season that starts at the beginning of the flood, and I can't do it. That's too
and
much.
they're out of hope.
I lived through it. I don't need to watch that. That was nope.
Yeah,
can't do
but
it.
they're out of hope. So,
but if you want to
Good guys.
see how the flood was here last year, you can watch the new season of Highway Through Hell. But
it wasn't
too
fun.
much for me. Nope, I didn't make it through one.
It's a lot of livestock that got lost.
Oh, it was awful.
Yeah.
Awful. Excluding injury, would Husso and Bernier been a better tandem? Asking for a friend.
If Bernier can come back, I would think that he probably ends up on the trade market. I don't know that I would trust Bernier at this point, coming back off that much time off. Ned's been shaky. I get the feeling that Husso's probably going to play more and more as the season goes along. So we'll see. But I don't know that Bernier would necessarily be the answer.
Thoughts on William Nylander's season so far?
Nylander's been fantastic. I know they're still, I'm seeing some chuckling about Toronto being number one on the power rankings. They belong there. Looking over the last couple of weeks, there have been games where Boston and New Jersey have both looked shaky, and Toronto, while yes, they've had some wins they've had to squeak out, they haven't lost in regulation in 14 games now. Like they're legit playing really well, and Nylander is a huge part of the reason why. So yeah, he's legit.
Favorite Christmas movie? I have so
Christmas
many
Vacation.
favorite Christmas. I have a ton of favorite Christmas movies.
Or The Shining.
It doesn't count.
The Shining counts.
I really like, for cartoons, I really like Arthur Christmas. That's one of my favorites. It's so funny.
The Shining has family. It has snow.
It's not. It's not a Christmas.
They have to work through a problem together. It gets into the meat and potatoes of
just because there's snow.
The relationships
doesn't make it a Christmas movie.
The Shining is absolutely a Christmas movie.
I really like The Man That Invented Christmas. That's a good one. I like Nightmare Before Christmas, but I don't really consider it a Christmas movie. It's just an awesome movie. Yeah.
Edward Scissorhands.
That's not a Christmas movie, though I love that movie. That was my first Tim Burton movie, which made me decide that Tim Burton's awesome. Yes. He's great. I like a lot of Christmas movies. Yeah, and I like Elf, and I like the Santa Claus movies.
Scrooged.
I do like Scrooged.
We watched Spirited last week. We liked that.
That one's fun. The boys finished that yesterday. They thought it was fantastic. Malachi especially. That was a really good movie.
Yeah. Ryan Reynolds as Ryan Reynolds. Will Ferrell as Will Ferrell.
Thoughts on the 21-22 Sami Zayn Bloodline arc?
That is the best storyline wrestling has had in at least a decade. So what they've done is they've put him in with this group. Well, eventually they're going to turn on him, right? But they've had this storyline going for it's at least 6 months now. And so fans are really invested in it. So when they turn on Sami Zayn, the crowd's going to go absolutely bonkers. That's coming up, I would think, in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to have to watch that somehow, some way, even if it involves watching the hockey on the computer here and watching the wrestling on the TV.
I had a dream. I was on the Entertainment Guy set while Shannon was recording a video for The Hockey Guy, and I left a bottle of Elmer's glue on the set just for fun. White Christmas. Go Christmas movie. I'm not a huge fan of White Christmas, though I like parts of it, but I don't like the whole thing.
I don't know that I've ever gotten through the entirety of White Christmas.
I like a lot of the old movies. That one's not.
What about Sound of Music?
I like Sound of Music.
Is that a Christmas movie?
Nope.
A little bit.
It has a Christmas song in it, but it's not.
It's a little bit of.
It's really not.
Edelweiss is the Christmas song. Right?
What about the old Rankin Bass stop motion stuff? Yes. Year Without a Santa Claus is my favorite. Me too. Out of the stop motion, Year Without a Santa Claus is my very favorite. Absolutely. That's the one with Heat Miser and Snow Miser.
Oh yeah.
That one is the best. I'm not a huge fan of Rudolph. Santa's a prick. I don't like the old Frosty. either. I've never liked that one.
Happy birthday. I
Yeah.
liked the old Frosty, but I will admit that was one that I kind of got tired of as I got older.
Miracle on 34th Street. I like
That's a great
the
movie.
old black and white one the best.
Well, I think most people do.
I do really like that movie.
The color version wasn't nearly as good. The original's very, very good.
Violent Night is a Christmas movie.
It is. We haven't seen it yet. I want to see it. I know the boys want to see it. I don't know that she wants to see it, but I mean, it's Christmas and it's violent, so I don't know why she wouldn't want to see it.
That is Malachi's favorite Christmas movie.
I don't like Home Alone.
He loves that movie. So the kids have
Home
already
Alone.
watched Home Alone this year. They like, I think they like the first 3, and they don't like the others.
I might be the only person on planet Earth.
Watched the others.
I didn't like Macaulay Culkin as a kid. I like him just fine as an adult. I think as an adult, I'm like, yeah, that's a guy I can hang out with, sit down, have a beer with, even though I don't drink beer. But I could hang out with Macaulay Culkin. He's dorky, same as I am. But as a kid, yeah, couldn't stand him. Absolutely, I was just like, oh my gosh, this kid, this is just awful. I had to watch. Home Alone was one of those movies I had to watch in increments. I couldn't watch the whole thing because I was so aggravated with the kid, and I was rooting for Joe Pesci. I was like, come on, Goodfellas version of Joe Pesci, just pull out the gun and get this thing done. The movie would have been so fast if it was the Goodfellas version of Joe Pesci. This kid, bam, and done.
Shannon.
Movie's over.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Anyways, does the CBA allow rental trades with time limits on them, e.g. Buffalo trades Tage Thompson for exactly 1 year to Boston and gets him right back after?
No. The NHL had an issue with Atlanta. They rented, it was Doug Waite and Keith Tkachuk, and then they went back. I know Tkachuk went back, and there was some idea that maybe there was an agreement to send them back. They don't allow that kind of thing. I don't think player to be named later has been allowed for a very long time either. I can't remember the last time there was a future consideration that became a real player. So yeah, no, it's not. I mean, I know in baseball they do that a lot, but at least they used to. I don't know if they're still allowed, but no, you can't do that.
Do you ever get invited to do hockey shows or podcasts? I suggest a conversation with the CHGO Blackhawks crew.
There's one that I might be doing over the next few weeks. I generally don't, because I know that there are a lot of different podcasts, so I've had to kind of say either I do all of them or I can't do them, because I don't want to be picking and choosing. The one that I'm talking to right now, patrons and members know about, but it hasn't been verified on the date and the time yet. I'll let the channel know when that's going to happen, but it's one of those things where it's like, what time of day would I do this? And yeah, it really, I would love to have the time for all that, but I don't generally have enough time.
Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens wins the WWE tag titles at Elimination Chamber in Montreal in February. That would be awesome. Going into Mania.
That's very likely what's going to happen, because we know Zayn isn't actually going to beat Roman Reigns. So Zayn and Owens winning the tag belts would be as close as he'd get to getting revenge on the Bloodline.
Alistair Sims' Christmas Carol is amazing.
Every Christmas Eve, I used to stay up. It was on at midnight on CBC. There were no commercials. So I would stay up till midnight on Christmas Eve. I would watch Christmas Carol. And the scene in that movie that I love the most is the next morning when he's crazy and the maid is there and he freaks her out and she's screaming and he's laughing. That is, to me, one of the greatest scenes in movie history. The movie itself is good, and then that scene comes in. I'm like, Alistair Sim is so funny, and he's so fantastic in that scene. It's great.
Home Alone 2, Lost in New York is a good one. The kids like that one.
That one's got more. It's more slapstick than the original, isn't it?
I don't know. I think I've only ever watched it once.
I got through parts of it.
I don't watch that one.
I kind of like the homeless looking guy in that one. Movie should be about him. That would have been great. Homeless Alone. Right?
I had an old triple DVD Christmas movie DVD set that Santa Claus is coming to town. Old Frosty the Snowman and Rudolph, maybe claymation. I have that, but there's different ones. Mine has Rudolph's Shiny New Year on it, and it is horrible.
Oh.
It is awful. It's not good.
See, I love it when they do the DVD sets where they have 2 good movies and
Yeah.
one that nobody on planet Earth would buy. And those ones always make me laugh. I'm like,
But then there's another one that has 3 on it, and I don't remember. I think it's the one, The Year Without a Santa Claus, and it has Nestor the Long-Eared Donkey, and that one's cute. But
see, and then
that's
when I was
unless
a kid,
you have that set, nobody's ever heard of it. But
when I was a kid, my favorite was A Christmas Star, which was the aliens coming down to discuss the Christmas Star. It was so weird, but I loved that one when I was a kid. That was my favorite. And Raccoon's Christmas.
I remember. The Raccoons. They always have that one on TV. Always.
I didn't like the series.
The Christmas tree. The Christopher Christmas tree. Do you remember the Christopher Christmas tree?
I think so. CBC
that was usually on right before,
CBC
right after the Raccoons. Yeah. And the Toopy and Beano. It's Slippers.
I'm too old for that one.
My kids are not. Every year. It's Slippers. See, and that one's only Canadians will know what I'm even talking about. Any of those shows. I don't think they show those anywhere else.
No.
They don't read non-super chats. That's weird. I thought
we don't.
I
can't see that either.
Weird.
Charlie Brown's good too.
It's a Wonderful Life.
How many points will Kuzmenko get? I'll say 65 if he keeps a prominent role. I'll say 60 to 65.
You just read that one.
Yep.
Is Swayman and Allmark the best 1-2 punch goalie duo?
It's hard to go against Vasilevsky and Elliott right now. Vasilevsky's rounding into form. If Riddick was better for the Jets, I would go with the Jets. Bruins, I would say, are probably top 4, top 5 in that category.
NHL 23 is so broken. I'm on the Rangers in be a pro mode, and I'm on a team with Matthews, Bread, Scheifele, Kako, Fox, Taves, Slavin, Trouba, and Chesney. That's insane.
So many star players.
That is ridiculous. How expensive would that be?
That'd be a very pricey team.
There's no cap. As an X fan, I'm worried we'll trade young talent to either patch this up or unload a bad deal. I would hate to Podkolzin or Hoglander in a deal like that.
I do think Hoglander's probably going to end up getting traded. Podkolzin, I'm not sure, but he wasn't drafted by Rutherford or Alvin, so it's possible. Podkolzin, it's been a shame to see how he's kind of fallen off this year. And teams are going to be calling. Those are names that are going to get thrown out there. Hoglander, I think they've wanted to trade for a while. I would be very surprised if he's still a Canuck at this time next year. Nice
to see Chris Letang return to the ice.
Yeah, he was out 12 days. He had his stroke, and 12 days later, he's back playing. He was symptom free.
Right.
And since playing hockey isn't dangerous for him,
it'd still be kind of nerve-wracking.
Oh, it's nerve-wracking.
When it's something that you've had your whole life, and I bet the doctors are very
his doctor
understanding of how
his
body handles it.
Him playing hockey has no effect on his risk of a stroke. So you might as well let him play hockey, because otherwise he's just going to sit around at home and worry about it.
Right. I was going to say, I would think that the athleticism to it, the exercise would be.
It's important to stay busy and healthy and not dwell on stuff. So I mean, if he retired due to it, what's he going to do?
What happened to the NFL power rankings?
The NFL power rankings, there were a few things that sunk them. The view counts were going down on the NFL power rankings as the season wore on. B, it made it tougher and tougher to follow the NFL, with the NHL having all day hockey. The NFL power rankings as well. I found that NFL fans are even more argumentative than NHL fans, and like to a crazy level. And so it just to me, it really wasn't worth it. So an NFL power rankings might have made me maybe like $20. I was like, for that $20, I don't necessarily have to do that video. I'm much more enjoying the soccer videos we've been doing over the last couple of weeks. And so I ordered every world flag. So I'm going to make magnets for every world flag. And I'm going to track things going into the next World Cup.
I've made a poem about your power rankings. Roses are red, the Ducks are too high, the Leafs are too low, stupid hockey guy.
Yeah, it works. It works. It rhymes.
That's clever. What? Did I miss something?
Oh, absolutely.
Did I miss lots?
Oh, just the one here. If you've seen Bedard play, my max out comp for him would be Patrick Kane with Brett Hall's Stamkos sniping ability. I think it was, I want to say it was Craig Button that compared him to Alex DeBrincat, and I did a double take because I'm like, he's not DeBrincat. He's better than DeBrincat. I think that the urge to compare him to other players is always high. The thing is, it is hard to actually find an accurate comparable of one player to another. His playmaking is elite. His sniping is elite. So whichever names you want to use for that, go right on ahead. But he's scoring at a rate of about 2 points per game right now. Kid's going to be fantastic.
Do you consider streaming on Twitch?
I looked at it at one point, but Twitch's numbers
years ago.
Twitch's numbers, you have to be so high up, and yeah, Twitch is kind of a mess. Seems like every time I turn around, there's some other issue with Twitch that's affecting streamers and how much money they make and everything, and it's just not worth it for me.
And financially and time-wise, it also doesn't really work.
The one
Shannon
thing
already works so much as it is, and adding something else to it.
The one thing I've considered, I would like to do a full-on podcast. There's a friend of mine that I know I could call in, and I know him and I could do a podcast. We could talk hockey for hours. We used to do it all the time at work anyways. And so I've considered doing that. But at this point, that's the only thing I've really considered. And then it's a matter of, he has a full-time job. So it's a matter of finding time where him and I could both do that.
Do you only keep up with NHL or other leagues as well, like AHL or SPHL?
I follow what's going on with the AHL. I miss doing SPHL videos. I should do a couple here and there because they're fun to follow. The SPHL is a lot of fun. Any league that says, okay, the top seeds decide who they're going to play in the first round, love it. Absolutely love that idea. Never happened in the NHL, but I love that idea. I follow as much as I can. There's European League coverage now being shown on TSN. I may catch a game here and there and just throw up a review and see what kind of numbers we get and what kind of interest there is in it. But at this point, the NHL is the primary focus.
When will you be posting World Junior videos?
World Juniors is going to be tough this year because it is a pretty full schedule from the NHL around that time. So it's not going to be as easy for me to cover as the last couple of years. I'll do my best. I'll make sure that there are videos on the channel with the World Juniors and what's been going on, but it's not going to be as in-depth as the last couple of years. Top line, top 2D, G lineup, non-Hall of Famers currently. Non-Hall of Famers. Well, I mean, so I would go with McGillney up front, Osgood in the net, on the blue line. See, and then I'm just thinking of players that are playing right now. Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm going to have to go through and do a video on players that aren't in the Hall right now and which ones are, maybe have been snubbed a little bit too much at this point and should at least get consideration over the next couple of years.
Worried about Winnipeg come the playoffs because they're overplaying Hellebuck. They always do.
That's pretty standard. And that was one thing when they picked up Riddick, I had concerns because with Riddick, I mean, I like Riddick, but his time in Calgary didn't end well. Ottawa didn't end well, and Nashville either. So for Riddick, I do have some concerns with him.
Do you think FIFA will do something different with the games in 26? Have them be A plays B plays C plays A to protect host Canada?
Well, the rumor is that it's going to be 16 groups of 3 teams, and I don't like that. I think that's a terrible idea. I understand they don't want to do 12 groups of 4 because then you're adding an extra game to the playoffs. But I think the 16 groups of 3 for an organization that's worried about its reputation and how, there's all the things they've done over the years. 16 groups of 3, there's way too much room for corruption, collusion, all that fun stuff. I think it could be a disaster.
Minnesota is also kind of overplaying Fleury.
That's going to change because Gustafson's playing really well. Gustafson's been really good their last couple of starts.
Yeah,
that
he
they've
did
used
really
him.
good that last one.
Well, I mean, Vancouver, there were a lot of shots. See, this is the thing. Because people say, well, Vancouver shot the puck at him, and that's what I was going to say. But then that shows a goaltender's good positioning. So that's why I don't talk about that in recaps either. Where people are like, well, they just shot the puck at the goalie, which tells you the goaltender has really good positioning. So that's definitely a thing.
Video idea: best players to never win a Stanley Cup. Have you done that?
A long time ago.
Oh, okay. I forget.
Long time ago, I would have done that one. I could do that in honor of Joe Thornton not being in the NHL right now.
How long can Crosby keep up his scoring pace?
Crosby, as long as he wants. Crosby doesn't age. Ovechkin doesn't age. I expect McDavid to be a player that doesn't age. Their conditioning is ridiculous. Their compete level is fantastic. I would expect Crosby could play into his mid-40s if he wants to.
How much harder is playing a lot of games for goalies compared to Brodeur era?
I don't know that it's any harder than it was during the Brodeur era, but the difference is that data seems to show that goaltender performance is affected by being overplayed. So, and with Brodeur, I do think that it helped him too that New Jersey didn't face as many chances as often. I've talked about that before, and I know New Jersey fans get mad. I'm complimenting their defense. I'm not insulting him either, but I think that helps when you're facing about 5, 6, 7, 8 shots less per game than maybe your opponent. You're going to wear down the other team's goaltenders a little bit more than you're going to wear down your own. I don't think we'll ever see a goaltender hit 70 starts again. I just don't see it. With advanced stats and all of the analytics that's out there, I just don't see it.
What's your favorite Monty Python movie? Holy Grail.
Meaning of Life.
That one's fun too.
Meaning of
Holy
Life.
Grail, though.
Yeah.
He's wrong.
I laughed all the way through Meaning of Life. There was a lot of, I can't believe they just did that moments in Meaning of Life.
Do you make draft videos such as draft rankings?
Once we get closer to the draft, I do mock drafts and things like that. I will do prospect profiles as well. I have memberships with both Elite Prospects and hockeyprospect.com, which means, I can get all the scouting reports. And so I will be doing, once we get into probably like February, I'll be doing looks at prospects and where they rank and all that. So I'll be getting into that in the new year.
How many NHL teams can Canada realistically support? I say 8.
I would say that they could support in Quebec. I would say that Hamilton could support a team. I would also say Toronto could support 2. I think Toronto is a market that could support 2 NHL franchises. Outside of that, I mean, Regina would be a maybe, but it would be tough to fill that building every night when you get into the middle of the winter. Victoria, sadly, too small. It's too bad because it's a beautiful city. It would be great.
It wouldn't be
but
easy to get there from the mainland.
No,
at
it
all.
would
It'd
be
expensive.
it'd be a nightmare. But Halifax is another one too that I would qualify as a potentially, but I don't know that it's big enough. And again, the NHL, I don't think is looking to add more teams in Canada.
Will Penguins try to trade a defenseman? Who do you think they would trade? If so, I want to see Ty Smith in the lineup.
If they trade a defenseman, I mean it's a tough call. If you want Smith in the lineup, I mean they just put that defense together. If Petrie, like here's the thing: if Petrie were to be performing well, but the team somehow fell out of contention, then you would see probably a move where a guy like Petrie might get moved as a veteran. I don't see that happening. I think Pittsburgh put this blue line together, and I think Hextall will keep it as it is. For Ty Smith, he had a disappointing season last year in New Jersey. Maybe Pittsburgh just doesn't see anything there that they figure warrants making a move to get rid of a defenseman right now and get him into the lineup.
Ketchup chips or poutine? Poutine, ketchup chips
easy.
are not good.
I'm not a fan of ketchup chips. I've never been a fan of ketchup chips.
Me either.
No, I tried them a few times. I tried different brands. I was like, well, maybe it's the brand. Nope. I just don't like overwhelming ketchup.
Shannon is wearing a Seals jersey.
Yes, Oakland Seals. Oakland Seals hat too. So Adidas re-released this, and of course they released an updated version of this jersey. So this is the original though.
Leafs will win the cup this year.
I would love that. I honestly, and I say that because I would love to see but Gary Bettman won't let a Canadian team win the Stanley Cup. That goes by the wayside. Then it becomes, well, of course, it's because Toronto's his favorite team. That's where the conversation would go. And it would be nice to see a Canadian team win the Stanley Cup. And it would get rid of that whole narrative that the team can't win in the playoffs. Because if they lose in the first round again this year, they'd have to tear things down. Not a full tear down, but something would have to change.
Holy Grail. We've come to rescue you. No, I'm fine. That one's so funny. Yep.
I'm a man. Funny. I'm sorry. I have a cold. One of my favorite lines.
I'm not dead yet.
Some watery tart throws you a sword and that makes you king. I'm being oppressed. Help, I'm being oppressed.
Yep, that one's really funny.
I remember the first time I watched that, we had to rewind that. What did he just say? Some watery tart throws you a sword and that makes you king?
That's so funny. That movie's great.
Yeah.
and the rabbit. Oh my goodness. So what do we do?
And then as a teenager too, there was for a while somebody would make the coconut noise so we could pretend we were riding horses. Like, hey, if we want to get there faster, we need to ride horses. Agreed.
Do you think the Canucks should send Hoglander down to the AHL?
I mean, I think it would help him to play in Abbotsford for a bit. I mean, it's, and it's only an hour's drive from Vancouver. I don't know that they have any desire to send him down, but I think it couldn't hurt. He had a good chance last night, so at least he's still getting looks. But he's one of those players that I think he would excel if he's in a top 6 role. I don't know that the Canucks will ever give him that. So it's one of the reasons why I've speculated for over a year now that he may not stay in Vancouver for very long.
California Seals are better name. Are a better name?
Well, they were the California Golden Seals. So originally it was Oakland Seals. Then it became the California Golden Seals because they weren't attracting any fans to the building. So you had to kind of inclusive. Okay, we're all of California. No, people still aren't coming. And then they moved to Cleveland, and then they ceased to be. They merged with the Minnesota North Stars, didn't they? And then the San Jose Sharks came out of that.
Is Pavel Bure the greatest play in Vancouver history?
As a forward, as a scorer, I would say Bure was the best Canucks player. Definitely the most exciting, although the Sedins for their longevity are up there. The best player may end up being Luongo. But yeah, Bure would definitely be in the top 3. Because the Sedins all count as one person. Hey, kitty.
I like those tree ornaments. Thank you. I made those last year. Well, most of them I made last year. Oh, too nice writing. Thud. Message for you, sir. Worst run team in the NHL? Oh.
The worst run team in the NHL? Right now, it might be the Flyers. Probably need to do a rebuild and decided to bring in Tortorella and double down on the idea they felt they could get back in the playoffs this year. And it really it reminds me of when Benning was in Vancouver. It was that similar, we're going to be back in, and it's just not going to happen.
Why did you leave Twitter?
I was spending way too much time during the day on Twitter and just doom scrolling, and it wasn't productive. So I did what I felt was best for my schedule, which is just get off of there. There's no point. You've got, at this point now, political discourse is ridiculous. There was a time where you just wouldn't talk about politics all the time, and now it feels like it's all everybody talks about. It's just exhausting.
That's all Twitter is now.
It's just so exhausting. It's like, okay, yeah. So I miss when we just didn't talk about all that stuff and just, just left that by the wayside.
The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim translates to the Angels of Anaheim.
Yes. Yeah, that's what they're called. They're called the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. That's the name of the baseball team.
I know.
It used to be the California Angels. I don't know what happened. Why change it? Remember when they changed it? I'm like, wait, they're the Anaheim Angels? But they were just California. Why do you have to change it?
How do you stay mentally sharp after spending so much time looking at screens?
I take little breaks. It's part of the reason why having animals is fun, because it does give me a break. Even during games, I play with Azrael over here during games. She even knows when I'm watching hockey, so she comes running in purring because she's like, "Oh, this is the time we get to play." So I play with the cat with one hand while with the other I'm writing on the board. And yeah, it's taking little breaks, and it's part of the reason why I don't bother trying to keep up with other sports, because I would try to, okay, I'm going to try to keep up with all the NFL stuff, and it led to burnout, and it led to me making mistakes, not getting enough sleep, that kind of thing. So I just try to keep it so I can focus on what I need to.
Yes, agree. Mental health way better after I deleted Twitter.
Yeah, it's just because here's the thing. So if you're going to have a debate with somebody, if you and the other person are never going to change your mind about what you're debating about, why bother? Is really where I finally said, why are we having this discussion? Because yeah, nobody's changing anybody's mind, so it's just yelling and shouting all the time, and eventually the yelling and shouting it's pointless.
I forgot there was one I was going to read and I forget. Therapy cat. Absolutely. We have several therapy cats and therapy bunnies. We are not from Vancouver. Neither of us have ever lived in Vancouver.
I can't afford to live in Vancouver.
Right? We live in Abbotsford.
I can barely afford to live in Abbotsford.
Yeah, neither of us have ever lived in Vancouver. My family's from Burnaby.
Further west you go, the more expensive it gets, and it gets really expensive.
True.
Once you get past Abbotsford.
True enough. Thoughts on Morocco's run?
It's been fantastic. It does make me feel a little bit better about the fact that Canada didn't get anything, because Belgium got knocked out in the group stage. Morocco's now in the semifinals, so maybe that group was better than what it got credit for, right? Croatia's in the semifinals. Morocco's in the semifinals. Canada can feel better about themselves.
Yes, Abbotsford has a teddy bear toss. We went last week, and I posted videos of it. So
did you put it on the community page?
I'm trying to remember. I know I put it on the Facebook page. I think I put it on Discord. I don't remember if I put it on the community page. I don't remember. I don't know.
So that's a no. So I think Stutzla can become a 100-point player. He can. In this league now, where you've got 56 players currently at a point per game or higher, 100 points is definitely more reachable right now than it was the last 20 years prior.
We do live about an hour from Vancouver, depending on the traffic. If it's a Friday, we live 2 hours from Vancouver. It's Sunday, though, so we probably live about an hour from Vancouver today.
Going to that last Canucks game, that was just, that was so
bad. That
was
2 hours.
That was so bad.
That was terrible.
It's one of those things where you go into Google Maps and it says an hour and 50 minutes. Like, well, that's one thing. I mean, that's a long time, but it'll be fine. And then we get half an hour away from our house, and it still said an hour and 50 minutes. I'm like, I see what you're doing, Google, and I don't like it, because that means it's an hour and 45 minutes.
We have time to park and get in. And
we left at 5 o'clock for a game that starts at 7, and we got into our seats after the game had started. We were at the little entryway for puck drop, though. Yeah, we kind of booked it. Yeah. So, we're not talking about our opinion on politics, whether it's in this country or another country. Nope. And I don't do that on either channel. Nope. I haven't done it in years. Nope. If McDavid hits 130 plus points this year, will that make him top 5 all time, or does he need the cup to be top 5? I don't think a player needs a cup to be top 5. I think that McDavid is getting into that category now. The thing is, so you have Gordie Howe, Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux. You could argue Bobby Hull, and you can argue Sidney Crosby into that top 5. You can make the argument for Yzerman, You can make the argument for Yager. So once you get into the argument of who the best players of all time are, it's this whole argument. Then you got Maurice Richard, then you have Jacques Plante, and so it gets kind of murky really quickly. But you can make the argument for McDavid as a top 5. I would say 2 or 3 more years at his current level of production, and there'll be even more debate on that where you can make that argument that he's top 5.
There is not a train that goes from Abbotsford to Vancouver. There is one from Mission to Vancouver. Mission is you have to cross the Fraser River, which is the huge river. We have a ton of rivers and lakes here. The Fraser River is just north of Abbotsford. So if we drive over that, there is a train that goes from Mission to Vancouver. They've been saying that they'll make a train forever.
Eventually, and they've been talking about having really the Sky Train come out to the valley, but that'll never happen.
I wish.
They talk about it, and then it's never going to happen.
We have to drive to Surrey to take the train.
Oh,
which I've done for years.
You want me to promise it for an election? Sure. Yeah. No, we'll have the train go all the way up to Spuzzum. I don't know. You want to go to Spuzzum? And then like after the election, like, can you imagine? Build a train? No. And then that's it.
They've been talking for years about having a train go to Chilliwack, which
Spuzzum does need rapid transit though.
And it would help with traffic on Highway 1 a lot.
Because of Spuzzum. Spuzzum is this massive
Nobody lives there.
It's got a store. So people live there because there's a store. I only found out about Spuzzum because it used to be in the phone book, and I'm like, what is a Spuzzum? And where is it?
Mike Bossy also would have been at top if not injured.
Yeah, Bossy, if not for injury, he would have had 750 goals in his career. Might have passed Gordie Howe. Bossy was a pure goal scorer and a very good leader and a solid all-around player.
Drove from Fernie to Vancouver in 2019. It was beautiful. So different from Newfoundland. It is very pretty.
And yet Newfoundland has its own beauty to it. I do want to go to Newfoundland, go to St. John's and just, be at the Atlantic Ocean and tell it how it's the nice ocean and, Pacific kind of sucks. Just let it know that even though the Pacific's the biggest ocean, the Atlantic has my heart.
He's such a dork.
How would the Atlantic know otherwise?
He's such a dork. Okay. Will you be making a video discussing the Ottawa Senators and all the odd statistics which indicate they are better than their results?
Yeah, it's going to involve a lot of looking at the advanced stat sites for that kind of thing, because the traditional stats would tell you Ottawa's not playing well, but the advanced stats would tell you they are. Hi, Shadow. But yeah, I can do a video like that. There are a couple of teams that are underperforming right now. Ottawa's the most prominent and talked about.
I'm from Ottawa. When I want to visit Vancouver, the drive from Vancouver to Kelowna was beautiful.
Yep.
Yes, but the traffic outside Vancouver was awful. Yes. Also, the traffic from Abbotsford to Langley is the worst, and there's no exit, so you just kind of have to be there, and I have no idea why the traffic is so bad there. But it is. You're just kind of stuck in it.
What do you mean?
It helps if you drive through the blueberry fields instead, though.
Well, yeah, they give you the scenic route because they know you're not going to get there, so you might as well look at pretty things while you're stuck.
Wow. Well, my theory is it takes longer to drive that way, and when the traffic's bad on the highway, it's probably the same, but at least I'm driving and not just sitting there, so I feel better about it. I'm from Chilliwack, and they've been talking about the SkyTrain to Abbey for about 20 years now. It'll never happen.
Nope. No, it will never happen. They even widened the middle of the highway there. So it could go down the middle of the highway, but it's never going to happen. Not in my lifetime. They'll build it right after the Canucks win the Stanley Cup. Promise. Promise.
We don't have cat fights.
They hiss and they kind of swat at each other, but there's no actual fights.
They don't. We've never had a cat fight in this house.
Pixel's very noisy, but she doesn't actually fight. Hey, kitty.
What's your favorite ornament? Do you mean hockey ornament or just ornament in this house? Because I do have a favorite ornament in this house, and it's one I've had since I was little. See, on this tree, I think. Oh, you guys want to see something fun?
Oh, here she goes.
I'll show you this. This is fun. It makes sound. Isn't it fun?
Ladies and gentlemen, what a game! What a shot!
See, that's fun. I really like the little hockey jerseys. I think they're adorable. And hey, look at how stinking cute this is. And I had Gabriel, he 3D printed their little tiny hangers. They're like Barbie hangers. Look at their little I had him 3D print these little Barbie hangers so I could hang up these little jerseys on here. And I think they're so stinking cute. But yeah. And then the other ones, these are all ornaments that I made. Oh, we had a subscriber make us these. Aren't they cute? And we've got the little goalies and goalie nets, and there's players. We've got little skates. Those are from Indigo. These are fun. Somebody made those. Right now, sweetie. I think they're fun. We've got fun ornaments. Come here. Does it feel like a lot of records are being broken compared to other years in the NHL? This year feels more unpredictable than others.
Yes, very streaky. Very streaky season. That seems to be settling out a little bit. But yeah, this has been a very interesting season. And hello, Sherry.
Yeah, Sherry's on here. Hi! I don't think I've ever seen her on a live stream. That's really fun.
Come here, sweetie.
That's fun.
Come here,
it's
sweetie.
cool when people that we know come on here.
So she wants to play. She doesn't want to be held. She's like, I want to play.
She's a spaz. Are you a spaz? Yes, she is.
She loves Shadow, though.
Who's in the picture behind you? Oh, you mean Gary Bettman, right?
Yeah, that's the Gary Bettman picture with Gritty behind him. And then
look at our Christmas card.
Everywhere.
I don't think Dave is on here. Dave sent us a Christmas card, so I put it right there. It's our first Christmas card this year. We don't really get Christmas cards because I don't send them out because it's way too much work and I'm horrible at doing that.
Here.
Is it true that all Canadians are born with a hockey stick? Sorry for my English. Your English is just fine. And yeah, of course, they are all born with a hockey stick. It makes it a little bit more time consuming, but you know. Your camera's blurry. Looks perfectly clear to me. Number of points per game is irrelevant. Even if they gave 10 points per win, everyone has access to the same number of points. The tie point changes things, though.
Yeah. The fact that 2 overtime or shootout losses equal a win has always kind of bothered me.
Is there often cat hair on jerseys? There's cat hair on everything.
But because I don't wear them for that long, like I'm wearing this for the live stream, I'll take this off after the live stream, and I don't usually carry cats when I'm wearing jerseys because they're
snag.
Sharp. They're sharp kitties. So usually I'm wearing a t-shirt when I'm carrying around a cat. So they generally don't get that much cat hair on them because I don't handle the cats when I'm wearing them.
But since we have 5 cats and 6 rabbits, we do have a lot of cat fur. But I do vacuum every day.
So if you're allergic
that
to
helps
cats,
a
this
lot.
is not the house for you.
Yeah, there's a lot of vacuuming that happens in this house. So it's not as bad as you would think. I don't think it is anyways.
No.
I know like people with dogs usually have a lot more problem with the fur problem than we really do.
Hey, Bine.
If the Islanders are in contention at the trade deadline, what kind of player should they be going after? I think a scoring winger and depth defenseman.
Always depth on the blue line. And yeah, they could definitely use some more scoring up front. Agree with that. And then they would likely add a depth forward as well. The Islanders, despite last night's game against Carolina, which may have been somewhat upsetting for Islander fans, they look really good this year, and I think they're going to be in the playoffs.
We want the podcast.
And that's highly likely to happen. It's just something I'm going to have to contact Kimber and talk it over with him.
If your cats could play hockey, which positions would they play in? Pixel would be goalie.
Azrael would be a rover, which isn't technically a spot. I don't know that you could get her to play one position. She just chased the puck.
Whatever.
I want the puck. Okay, so her position is I want the puck. Everybody got that.
Lily, or not Lily Bell. Oh my gosh. Maple would be in the rafters.
Yeah, Maple, she wants to jump as high as she can get
spot
at all times. Bear would probably be suitable as goaltender because then she can hide in the net if she gets upset about something. Pixel, stay-at-home defenseman. Definitely stay-at-home
We
defenseman.
are not getting another cat, and we are not getting a dog. We cannot do a dog as
Nope.
much as we both love dogs.
Dogs
It's
require a lot of work.
not.
And I don't think it's fair to a dog if you can't give it the amount of attention and time that it needs.
Right. And
it needs a lot.
we have a child in our house that would not
Right.
do well with a dog, and it wouldn't be fair to a dog. So
I grew up with
no
dogs.
dogs. So did
when
I.
I was a kid, we always had one cat and one dog. And yeah, I
There's
love
Eva.
dogs. She can attest. Anytime I'm around a dog, I go crazy. Although I do that with pigeons too. So at any
Shannon
rate-
likes all the animals.
That poor
He
pigeon
does.
in Vegas.
Shannon was ready to take that pigeon home with us.
I was, yeah. That poor
We
little
had to
guy.
take the train there, and he
Well, he
wanted
had
to
a
take the
busted
pigeon.
wing.
I know.
He had a busted wing. Poor little guy.
Did your wife know about your interest in hockey before marriage? Of course. Or was this something you sprung on her? I knew about Shannon having
You knew
a
everything.
hockey channel. Yeah. The first day that we were messaging each other, because we met online, we talked for months before we even met. The first day we were talking, he sent me videos that he had done. His channel was significantly smaller then. When we first started talking, it was just before he had 1,000 subscribers, and he just had got the email that he was going to get his first paycheck from YouTube.
Yeah.
So the channel was much, much, much smaller, but yeah, I knew all about it. Our first dates kind of revolved around him needing to be home to do his daily videos. Hi,
Yes.
baby. That's right.
So I would go to my regular
She's so
job,
sweet.
and then I would do
Hey,
videos
You
after.
want down now, don't
she
you?
does.
I'm still exploring.
Good girl.
Which is more rubbery, a hockey puck or mason egg? Oh man,
I'll go with the hockey puck since
that's
it's actually made of rubber,
Oh man. Okay,
vulcanized rubber.
let's see.
Hey, bun. Don't chin everything
What do
because
you
some of that I
think
own.
Batman will get you for Christmas this year?
Probably another scandal. NHL's due.
I would listen to a THG podcast as obsessively as I do both Jim Cornette podcasts he has and Steve Dangle podcast. Let's go. THG pod for the win.
Well, I do have the one podcast that I do record occasional episodes for that has existed for years. Goes back 4 or 5 years at this point. But I would like to do a more regular schedule with that and grow that. So at some point I want to do that.
No, I am not from Winnipeg. My family is from Burnaby. Can NHL pass the MLB in terms of revenue?
No. Major League Baseball has a 162 game schedule. Baseball is ridiculously I don't want to say overpriced, but man, some of those baseball players and the money they make. Yeah, I can't see hockey ever passing Major League Baseball in terms of revenues.
Oh, Shannon, somebody asked what you did before you were doing the channel for full
I had
time.
20 plus years of crappy jobs. I worked in meat processing for a combined 17 years between 2 different jobs. And I had about 7 years working in a call center. So it's a lot of
that nobody else wants.
A lot of jobs that I never had to worry about anybody trying to take my job. I usually got the job, and the worst part was that some jobs somebody would go, yeah, nobody wants to do that. That job sucks. So I would learn that task. So like at my last job, I learned how to run the scale, which is just, it sounds really easy, but it can get really backed up very quickly, and it can be really, really hard. So I got really good at it. And then that was the only job I did for about a year and a half because nobody else wanted to do it. And then they would train somebody like, all right, we got somebody trained. You can go do something else. I'm like, oh, thank God. And then like, maybe 5 minutes later, they go, yeah, so he's buried down there. Can you go down and take over?
You could do a tier list of your crappy jobs.
I don't know which one I would rate as being good. They were jobs. There were
Your
jobs I
first
did.
big job. That was like part-time, but
well, yeah, TradeX was,
yeah,
but it was boring too.
It was super boring.
TradeX wasn't the most exciting of the jobs I've had.
But I could come
Um,
visit you at that job. That was kind of fun. Remember Christmas show?
Oh,
And
yeah.
you just walk around the Christmas show with me.
Yeah.
You just weren't allowed to sample things so much.
I know.
That was kind of fun. I could visit him at work.
Yeah,
He'd wander around.
that was a fun job. I had that for about 8 months, and then I had
Yeah.
to stop because the playoffs were starting, and that's when I became a full-time YouTuber. So that was fun. I didn't really get recognized at TradeX either because I wasn't wearing a hat or a jersey. So
Right, and you were wearing your first
my
aid
first aid
vest.
stuff. So people don't generally look for directly at a first aid attendant.
Oh, I remember Shannon's videos in his white meat coat back in the day.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
he did a few videos at work or on your break.
Or I would do it right on the floor. There
Yeah.
were times
I
where I
remember
had
you doing
to.
one that you were doing one with your little hand truck and such.
Yeah, those are fun. I still would like to have.
He would
like,
send
one
me
of those.
pictures while he was
I
at work
sent-
doing
sent her a
ridiculous
picture.
things. In case I die, this is why.
I had to get a box from up on top of a shelf. I'm like, okay, if I climb up on top of my motorized hand truck here, I can grab that. I shouldn't. I'm not supposed to. And I'm a first aid attendant, so I know better. So I took a picture of what I was about to do.
And he would
so that
send
she
it to
would
me. He'd send me pictures. This
Okay,
is what I'm doing.
I'm going to do this. This is really
in case
dangerous.
I die.
If I die, you'll know what happened. So I would get the box. Like, yeah, no, I'm all right. I didn't die. Don't worry about it. I would always make sure there was nobody else in the room. I'd be like, is
So
anybody
much
else
trouble.
here? No?
I
All right.
still
So I'm
have,
going to climb up on top
rabbit
of this.
fur on my face.
I'm not supposed to climb up on top of this, but yeah.
It amazes me MLB minimum salary is less than NHL.
Because there's no salary cap. So you can hose the players that are your bit players, your guys coming in, and then you just give all your money to your star players. And it is an argument in favor of a salary cap, which Major League Baseball, if Major League Baseball was going to have a cap, they would have had it 20 years ago.
Lars isn't here because he doesn't feel good. He'd totally link that where you buy your jerseys video. Shannon has, I think you've done 2 videos where you buy your jerseys.
Some of that's out of date. I could always do another one, but every time I do another one, people are like, oh, this is just rehashing. Well, yeah, but things change.
Yeah.
Where you can buy stuff changes. So, and knowing where to get the best deals changes too. So, yeah, I could probably do another one of those. But Cool Hockey, Ben H Sports, those are the big ones.
Do you still have the Bracknell Bees jersey and program I sent? Yes.
Absolutely.
We
Yep.
do have
the Bracknell Bees programs on in the rec
hockey
room.
bookshelf.
It's on the hockey bookshelf. I have to make sure that things stay on the hockey bookshelf because with rabbits, yeah, you don't want paper being anywhere near rabbits. So, yeah.
Are Panthers missing the playoffs?
I think that with the scoring and talent they have, they will turn it around and they will make the playoffs. The one thing is, now I watched ESPN the other day and I thought, there's a problem. So they said, which of these teams are going to miss the playoffs? They had Florida and the Rangers. So they're like, oh, well, I think these guys are going to make it. Okay, but who are you taking out? And that's where the real question comes in. So I do think Florida rallies and ends up making the playoffs, but I don't know which team that's above the line ends up dropping out. And that's where things get really tricky because half the league misses the playoffs. So yes, in my heart, I say Florida should rally and make the playoffs. I'm not sure who they take out to get there.
How do you think Reynolds would affect Sens fan numbers, if at all?
It wouldn't affect the fan numbers in Ottawa, but we would see Senators jerseys all over the place. We would start to see like celebrities wearing them because Ryan Reynolds owns the team. Similar to Wrexham, right? He buys Wrexham. Wrexham has, definitely grown. And like, I know what Wrexham is. So there's a lot that it would do for the team's public identity. It would also probably push merchandise sales outside of the Ottawa market. So it would do more for the franchise as a whole than it would for them locally. And it would help them get a building.
My hands are so cold. It's so cold in here. Do you like the Habs Expo jersey?
Yes. I rank them 12th on the...
Which one's that?
The new reverse retro.
Oh, okay.
I initially ranked it 12th. And now I rank it 13th among the new reverse retros. I do like it. I think it's nice. I would kind of like to see some of these... this year's reverse retros actually stick around beyond this season. I know it's not going to happen, but I'd like to see some of them stick around.
Just want to say thanks for making so much great hockey content.
No problem.
Thoughts on jersey ads? You could use my Bracknell jersey as a comparison from the European view to what the NHL has now. That's
I have that Yager too from the Czech League that's just
Oh,
absolutely
yeah.
coated in ads
Yeah.
too. And I don't think the NHL will ever get to that extent. I think there would be tremendous backlash. We're already seeing some for the one ad that's on them, in that some of the team stores are selling them with ads, and you may not have the option to buy them without. Although you should always have that from online retailers, because it's the team that applies the ads. The ads themselves are not applied by Adidas.
Tovalen on waivers. It's moving. Sorry.
Tolvanen.
Yeah. Would you take him and Fabro back, maybe with picks for Garland or Besser?
Tolvanen, I think, is done at the NHL level. I would be kind of surprised if he passes through waivers, but yeah, no. And Fabro really hasn't taken that next step as much as I thought he might. It's Nashville, so hope is still there, but I don't think Nashville has a ton of cap space either. So for them to take on Besser, the Canucks would have to keep some money. And we'll see. I mean, Besser's agent's working on whatever he's working on. It's got to be an odd conversation for an agent to call a team and discuss it when he can't actually discuss trade parts. So it's odd. I guess he's just gauging interest. I don't know that Nashville would be a good spot for. I think it would suit Garland more, because Garland does have some of that grit in his game that I think he could suit Nashville a little bit better. But I don't know that there's a trade there for the Canucks right now.
Speaking of reverse retros, you still have the Pens way too low. It's top 5, if not top 3. You're wrong.
I just love the
Wrong.
opinions. The opinions part.
No.
Just, my opinion is as it is, and I do value ugly
Your
jerseys.
opinion is wrong.
I
It
do
is though.
value
His
ugly
opinion
jerseys.
is wrong. That part you're correct in, not the part about the Penguins jersey though.
Why is my opinion wrong?
Because it is. You've
Is
got
it-
them all in the wrong order.
But Tampa Bay is right near the top,
It
because
shouldn't
that
be.
Storm is fantastic.
It's not.
That Storm jersey is
It's
great.
an abomination.
It's not. You're an
It's so.
abomination. It's not. Your head has a shell on it.
Okay. What's your opinion on the Rangers right now?
The game against Vegas has me thinking they're this close to turning it around and going on a bit of a run. They're above the playoff line right now in the East. They should stay there. They should be good enough to get into the playoffs.
In case I don't join another stream, Merry Christmas, you two. Happy holidays.
Thank
Well,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
He doesn't miss very many live streams, so I see him on here a lot. Thoughts on the Kings right now?
Inconsistent. They've been inconsistent all year, but they have a fun lineup. They have a lot of good offense. Their defense is I think underrated. Mikey Anderson's been one of my favorites for a while now. I do like Jersey offensively. Defensively, there's some concerns. The goaltending is shaky. I don't know that I trust Quick in a playoff series right now. And Peterson, of course, is in the minors getting his game back. That's my one concern with the Kings. Other than that, yeah, they should be top 3 in the Pacific.
Oh, somebody asked, I don't see the comment now, but they've asked a few times, when you think Vegas will win the Stanley Cup.
They could win it as soon as this year. The one problem they're going to have is that a lot of their core star players are, I mean, every year you're getting that year older. You're getting that much further away from, your potential and your prime and all that. So if they're going to win it, I think they have to win it in the next 2 to 3 years.
I hate wrong opinions. Then you're watching the wrong channel, because Shannon's wrong all the time. I read the comments. He's always wrong.
I love the Space
Yet
Coyote.
people still listen to him.
I do
don't-
find it odd that people who talk about my power rankings, how much they hate him, it's the same
They
people
still
for
watch.
3 years.
Every week, and they tell him how stupid he is, and they
find it
still
really
watch
weird.
the darn video.
Can you imagine if I watched a TV show?
And every
and
week.
every
Oh my
week,
gosh. Can
this
you
show
believe
is so
yeah,
stupid.
you're like, seriously, turn the damn thing off. Knock it off. Do something else with your time. People do, though. It's really fun.
Although
It's my favorite.
The Flash, I've kind of been doing that for the last
It's
3
true.
years.
It is true. He
This
does
is
tell me
so
about how horrible
dumb.
the show is and continues to watch the darn thing.
Well, now it's in its last season coming up, so I
Thank
might as well
goodness.
finish it.
See, and I I don't do
I've
that.
actually paused the show and called you
He
in to
has.
talk to you about how stupid
It's
it
so
is.
silly. And yeah, I don't do that. If I don't like a show and I'm done with this one.
It's like, well, when they forget they have superpowers, it drives me crazy. Like, if only you had superpowers. Oh, wait, you do. I guess the writers forgot. Holy Lord. If only there was somebody really fast that could save us from this situation. Like, it's just. Why are you talking, Flash? Just punch him. Oh my gosh. Why must you talk to all the villains? Just punch them in the head. Talk to them when they're in jail. Anyhow. See, I do it too. I don't know why I'm surprised.
What would you do about
Kachetkov.
with Freddie coming back if you were the Canes gym?
I would test the market on Ronta. There are enough teams that need goaltenders that if you put Antti Ronta out there right now, I think you'd have a taker. I would keep Kachetkov, and I'd have Kachetkov and Anderson as the goaltending duo, and then really, really hope Freddie doesn't get hurt. Because the one thing is, of course, if Freddie got hurt and you don't have Ronta, then you got a bit of a problem. So that would probably be what I would do. I think they'll probably take the easiest route, which is Kachetkov ends up going down to the minors. But I would probably keep him and see if I could make a move with Ronta.
Would Blue Jackets be desperate enough to take Miller as a first center? That top line may not back check. Also, if you could interview one active player, who would it be?
I'd interview Marchand.
Hmm.
Marchand is the most entertaining
Yes.
guy. Never boring. Miller will have some value as a trade piece this offseason. I don't think you can trade Miller right now with all the teams with cap problems. Of course, his contract extension kicking in. It's going to be easier for the Canucks to trade their way out of this mess next summer when teams are going to have cap space to add players. So I don't think the Canucks are going to be that active this year. I think it's going to disappoint people. People are going to be mad. I think they'll be active this coming offseason if they don't make the playoffs.
How would you suggest getting captain letters put on a jersey? I want to put an A on my Marner jersey.
The team store. Team store is usually pretty good about that.
Or do you know anybody that sews? The captain letters are pretty easy to put on. They're way easier than the numbers. The numbers are kind of a pain putting them on the sleeves. If you do, or you know how to sew at all, you use temporary fabric adhesive, put it on your patch, and then
Or
you put it
gum.
on, and then you just do a zigzag stitch around it.
Gum works too.
You can do iron on. I don't, just because ironing jerseys makes me really nervous because it's easy to melt it. Though I know if you go to a store, they do use a heat press. I do not. So I don't know that anybody else, if they aren't a store, would be comfortable doing that. But it is pretty easy to sew on. If you know somebody that sews, I think you could probably even take it to a tailor. I don't think it costs very much to sew on a patch.
Technically.
I don't know, though. I've never had to have a tailor do something like that. But
Technically, I'm the heat press in the house. Isn't that right? What's up? Yeah, there you go.
Dork. Yeah, but you can use fabric glue too, especially since it's just a patch. They're pretty small. But I always do a zigzag stitch around it just so you don't have the little corners sticking up. Hi, Bun Bun. She comes and she kind of noses me. That's how
She
bunnies.
nudges.
It's
That's how
like a
they
bunny
say thanks.
kiss.
Yeah.
Is with their little nose. They kind of. It's so cute. Hi, Bun Bun. Would you consider a GM job?
Again, those jobs, the amount of hate you get
Hi.
from local
Hi,
fans. There's a lot of
Look at this little Bun Bun.
job insecurity.
Look at this fish.
I'm not a big fan of the
Oh
job
my gosh,
insecurity.
Look at this fish.
Hey, sweetie. I know you're being
Isn't
shown
she
to the
so
internet.
cute? Isn't she so cute? And she
Hey,
said,
what is
"No,
she-
I was still playing.
I know.
I was still playing, Mom."
What's she doing to you?
And she's so cute. Hope you have. I don't think you can see the fur just flying.
Oh,
Hope you have a great Christmas from England.
Merry Christmas to England as well.
Oh, sweetie.
Sorry about the World Cup yesterday. Glad that they got the penalty. It's a shame that they missed it because that was a penalty all day long. I'm still bewildered as to how the referee in real time went, well, that looked fine. That looked good. And I even went raging at her, which is interesting because I watch all those hockey games. I almost never rage at her about a call during a hockey game.
You do
But
sometimes.
during the World Cup, there's been a lot. There's been a lot. We're like, what? How?
There is
how did-
every
what?
once in a while, I'll be upstairs with the kids and I can hear Shannon just yelling, "What was that? Are you kidding me?" And the boys just start laughing because it's funny. Stitching is much nicer too. Agreed. And then you
Yeah.
don't get the lifted corners.
Yeah.
Corners are annoying.
Do I plan to get either of this season's Winter
Just
Classic
go back to
jerseys?
read that one.
I haven't ordered them. I haven't even asked Ben if he's getting them. I don't know that I need that Boston jersey in my collection. And the Pittsburgh one is nice, but financially right now, I don't. I mean, if I can get one through my usual means, fine. But if I can't, I'm fine with letting those ones go. I'm fine with that because they're $210 each, and it's yeah.
What happens in Oilers? Oh my gosh, totally. Yep, I was combining some words in my head there. Oilers land once Draisaitl contract is up.
Dry's gonna get a raise. The good news is by the time his contract's up, the salary cap will have gone up quite a bit. But he's definitely gonna get a raise. He is gonna be worth every dollar that he gets. I do think that with Draisaitl and McDavid, I think it's going to be similar to what we see with Malkin and Crosby and Pittsburgh. I think they'll take less than market value to keep that team together.
How much money for a star next to my name? We have no control over that. Anything special planned for your 10,000th video?
No, I don't even keep track of how many videos I've got on the channel.
And the number of video changes. If Shannon goes and deletes videos, which he did a few years ago, he deleted a lot of old videos, and every once in a while he will go delete old videos.
Yes.
That number changes. So
yeah,
he passed 10,000 quite a while ago.
Yeah.
It's just he deletes stuff, and because time changes, and sometimes we don't need those really, really old ones because we get stupid comments on things that were from 5-6 years ago. So.
All right. But anyways, we should get going because it's almost 11:30. So you gotta get yourself ready and.
It's not a Minecraft carrot.
Stuff.
It's a parrot. See, eye, beak, wing,
Yeah.
and he's sitting on a stick.
Sure. All right.
Parrot.
Anyways, guys, thanks for coming out. And I hope that you guys have yourself a wonderful Christmas in case this is the last live stream before Christmas. We'll try to get one done. I've spent my life acquiring that warmth. You don't need to take it from me.
But
anyways,
sharing is caring.
Nope. That's not up the back.
That's what
All
your
right.
job
Thank you guys for coming out. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And hey, I will talk to you guys again soon enough. Take care.